Alright, so in today's video, this is going to be going over the pieces for my Vader cosplay, along with some of the modifications that I plan on making to it. This costume is not based solely off of one Vader appearance, however. The helmet is from the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, and then the suit itself was bought off of Pro Cosplay, and it was a nondescript costume. So it's not 100% screen accurate to any one version of the suit. However, it is instead working as a generalized Vader suit. Obviously, all of these pieces can really be swapped out, so you can get your own kind of personalized look, especially the mask. There's all kinds of different ways to get masks, so that would be one that is the easiest to swap out, whereas things such as the actual bodysuit, there's not much of a difference that you're going to get from swapping it out, apart from preference of the material or the way that it sits and fits. Alright, so starting off super simple, just looking at the mask alone, this is the 2017 Black Series Vader helmet. I need to polish some different things on it, so do ignore all the fingerprints on it. However, it does come as part of the three-piece mask. Cowl obviously being able to come off, being attached by magnets on the inside. Nothing super special about the cowl itself, just very standard. And then the next piece is the actual forward-facing headpiece. You can see the alignments for the magnets on it up here, along with all the details across the forehead. This top piece also pops off using the button down here, which also activates the breathing. So you have the breathing, along with using it to pop this top piece off, which cues a different set of breathing. So this top piece is, again, rather rudimentary. It attaches with magnets, but where it really shines is the inner details. It's not quite as detailed as the bottom of it, but it's still really nice to have all of that sculpting on the inside, and it also comes with some padding up here. The only complaint that I have about this is the lens. They are really easy to see through looking in, so you might want to wind up tinting them a little bit darker so that they are harder to see into. And then you have this final piece, which is the bottom of the neck. While it is technically two pieces, you have the back of the brace that pops on and off so that you can slide it on. Really simple to snap. You also have the batteries over on this side. You can see the small compartment for them, which is what activates the breathing. So whenever you do not have the upper piece of the head on, it does have a different breathing effect. So that's clearly more of the wheezing. And then the inside of this is where you really get some of those beautiful designs. None of this is functional. The only thing special that this does is the breathing. It doesn't have any microphones, but this does work really well if you were to do an unmasked Vader where you just would have this bottom part on, because looking in, it still looks really nice. So doing a quick assembly of this, you align the two jaw pieces, pop it on there, and it goes super smoothly because there's magnets, along with there are some pegs down in there that do latch on. That's what's unlatching whenever you hit the button. Throwing on the top cowl piece and just getting those magnets to kind of align and lining it up with the eyes. Alright, next up is the top. So this one, like I said, is from Pro Cosplay. It's just got a very simple zipper in the back. Nothing super fancy to go on with it. It's just lined on the inside. It's a decent little pleather. It being pleather does mean that it will eventually start to flake and fall away, but it hopefully won't do that for a good number of years. You can see all the paneling done on here. It's super nice. The only complaint that I seriously have with it is a stiff top. You can see that the arm's not like draping down, So putting this on does get a little difficult. Obviously this going on right after the pants, being the base layer of the suit, trying to get the rest of it on with limited mobility, it does make it a little hard. But one of the nice things about this is it did come with some Velcro areas for the chest plate and then the belt, which I don't use the one that it came with, but my chest piece does have some Velcro that I do like to stick on here just to make sure that it kind of stays square enough. And next up is the pants. They're made out of the same material, same idea with all of it. With these though, I do wear some suspenders to help keep them up under the shirt, just to make sure that everything stays kind of as flush as I can get it to, and so there's not a gap between the pants and shirt that's visible. These pants are super simple. It's just a standard button and then it's got a fly, so it's just like a pair of jeans. Super easy to get into and out of. Again, only real complaint is that it is a very stiff material. Next up, these I do plan on replacing, but these are the shin guards that came with the Pro Cosplay costume. They work well enough. They're a really nice, like, shiny, reflective material, but I don't like the fact that they are a fabric. I do plan on eventually getting some harder plastic ones, but for right now, I use them for both Vader and Anakin to mimic Anakin's taller boot, and obviously, Vader did have shin guards. They are super simple Velcro, so they just go around your calf and Velcro along with another strap on the bottom to hook it around your ankle. The inside of these, again, is just a really simple pleather. And then we move on to the codpiece, which I have modified, but I do also plan on getting a new one of. So originally the belt was a one size fits all and it didn't have a great way to fasten it. I believe that it was just Velcro on a very small strip and it didn't fit quite right. So I did wind up cutting the actual belt itself and then extending it so that it can fit more naturally. And then it's just, again, Velcro on the back, super simple, and it works for what I need for right now. But I do eventually want to get one that's more accurate to the screen, because this is, again, super simple pleather, which does unfortunately mean that eventually it will fall apart. But again, for right now, it works for what I need it to. And next up, you have the chest piece. So this is separate from the actual costume from Pro Cosplay. I ordered this off of Amazon, and it came with a lighting kit, which I did hot glue in, but it lights up super nice. Let me turn out the lights really quick so you can kind of get a better example. So without turning all the lights off, you can already just see kind of there is a very large difference. So the way that I wired it was every hole has 2 lights each with the battery pack sitting at the bottom. And the only bad part about this is it's not super adjustable. So the waist does adjust, but the top does not. So this slides on over your neck, and then this belts on over your waist, and which, as you can see, the neck likes to hang really low. So eventually I am going to fix that and tighten it up to where it'll hang around here where it should. But for right now, that's what I use the Velcro for on the actual shirt piece. And this waist is super simple. It's just a basic clasp. And rolling on with the topic of lights, we go on to the belt. I got it in the same pack that I got the chest piece, and it came along with its own lights and everything. This one just has a nice buckle in the back along with an elastic band so that it is truly a one size fits all. The rest of it's really just another pleather, and then these boxes. I'm not entirely sure how they made these, but they are very sturdy. All of them are made out of a similar material. And then the lights in these are harder to show, but it is just loosely sitting down in there because they weren't large enough to warrant gluing them in. But for an example on how they look with the lights on, and once again with the main lights off, you can see it pretty clear. The only bad part is there's not a backing to these, and it's just held in by the belt. Moving on to the gloves. So these are, again, the ones that I got from Pro Cosplay whenever I ordered the costume, and so they're not completely accurate. and I do plan on eventually finding new ones of these as well. So essentially these are just longer pleather gloves, and they just slide on super easily like that. And then these are supposed to mimic the top part of his glove, and they again just slide on super simple, but it doesn't look the best, but I'm sure that for them producing it, it was the cheapest option. And for right now, for what I need, it works well enough because you can't tell a super big difference, but eventually I do hope to get actual screen accurate gloves for this cosplay. And this is the last actual hard piece before we get on to the capes. So this is the shoulder pauldron. It's again just a weird pleather, and I do plan on replacing this hopefully decently soon because I hate the look of this and I hate trying to put it on. It's a zipper in the back, which after you have everything on gets really hard to reach, so I cannot get into the suit on my own. For right now though, it does its job. It looks decent enough, but it is just really far from what I want to have in the end. So I do plan on this being one of the first things that I replace. Unzipping it in the back, you can kind of see just how it basically goes on. You lay it over your shoulders and then it gets zipped in the back. It does affect your mobility a lot in the suit, combining this with the shirt, because it sits really tight on your shoulders because it's not made to fit you. It's made as a one-size-fits-all. So hopefully whenever I do get an actual hard plastic one, that will also fix that issue. All right, and going on to both of the capes, well, this one's technically more of a draping robe. So this one is super simple. You wear it more like a vest. And it's not a super great fabric or anything, but it works well enough. You hardly see it, so I'm not going to complain about it too much. It does go down to about my ankles, which is what I want, so that I'm super glad. But eventually, whenever I do get some of the different upgraded items, I might add this to the list of things to upgrade, just because the material is not the best. And then you have the standard cape, which I do need to replace really bad. One, because the chain broke on it, which I can try my best to fix the chain, and it's not a super big deal, but also it is really thin for me. So whenever I have the full suit on, it doesn't drape over my shoulders. It might sit perfectly in line with my shoulders, but that's about the most that I would get. But I do want one that can come up front should I want it to. And this is also a little bit short for what I need, especially by the time that I get height boosters to try to make it as close to the accurate height as possible. And then going on to the unlisted stuff. So I do have a pair of Doc Marten boots that I wear with this, just because I needed black boots. And they work fine for right now because they don't look horrible, but I do plan on replacing them with platform boots to try to get closer to that 6'7" height, along with some different little lifts and tricks to try to make me appear taller while wearing Vader. Naturally, I do sit at about 6 foot, so hopefully I can do it properly without it looking weirdly proportioned or looking too odd or awkward. Whatever I am able to figure out to get me closest to that height will be what I do, so that it is at least taller than me, so it's closer to the height that it should be. And then this is the lightsaber that I currently use for both Anakin and Darth Vader. I had bought the actual base itself a while ago, I believe almost 2 years ago now, and then I bought this hilt recently from another vendor at a Comic-Con. It's not a screen accurate one to anybody in specific, but it does have the little ridges on the bottom along with the belt clip and the classic Graflex neck. So that is mainly what I wanted it to convey, was just the rough idea of a lot of the classic sabers, which it does pretty well, especially if I am holding it in my hand at any point. Whenever you're not looking super closely at it, it can pass for a lot of those different sabers. So I am happy enough with this for right now, but I would eventually like to get some of the accurate hilts and stuff to swap out for it. But for right now, this does its job with both of the cosplays fairly well, and I have no desire to swap it out for anything and spend the extra money. And I had forgotten to include these, but I wear them simply for comfort. They were just simply compression wear, so compression pants, compression shirt. I had them from my Spider-Man cosplays, and I didn't want the pleather sitting directly on my skin while wearing Vader, so I do slide these underneath, and it makes it a little bit more comfortable, so I do highly suggest these. Okay, so after going over all of the parts of the suit in general, I'm going to go ahead and throw on the compression wear for it, the pants, and then the suspenders, just so that I have at least the base covered. Okay, so now that we have the compression wear, the pants, and the suspenders on, next up I'm going to move on to the boots as well as the shin guard coverings. Alright, so now we've got the boots and the shin guards both on. This one gave me a little bit more trouble because I have big calves, and so the back of the Velcro does really struggle to hold because it's not any sort of elastic. Alright, so it's already getting pretty warm just inside these pants alone. I'm going to try to rush through the rest of this as much as I can. Next up, it's the shirt, and I have to try to zip it in the back while having limited mobility. So you'll see me move a lot of different weird ways. Sorry, I act like a jacket, but getting this on alone is really a struggle. Alright, and that's the shirt on, so next up is going to be the chest piece, and I have to go ahead and turn on the lights for it before I actually get it fully on, so. Alright, so that's the chest piece. The next piece is his inner cape cloak thing, which is essentially just worn kind of like a really long vest. Now that that's on, the next piece up is the cod piece followed by the belt. But I do put his cod piece below this, just because it's not the prettiest job ever. I'm pretty sure that's how I wore it. I'm not entirely sure, but for shits and gigs. And so that's the cod piece on down here. It's hard to see. And then it is onto the belt, which I also have to. I completely forgot to turn the chest lights on. That's okay. That's a lot easier to do than the belt. The belt, I do have to move the actual belt partially out of the boxes so that I can turn the lights on. Alright, now that we have both the belt and chest box lit up and on, next up will be his shoulder pauldron that I've got to have help putting on because it's a zipper directly in the back and it's all way up in my shoulder blade area, which I'm not able to reach at this point. Okay, so I did get the shoulder piece put on off camera because I have to have somebody else zip it in the back. But you can see the generalized idea. It's not hard to imagine trying to put it on. Alright, I did forget to mention this in the pieces, but this isn't required for everybody. It's useful to me though because I have longer hair. Balaclavas are a lifesaver. It also helps hide your neck a little bit more. But so next up is going to be the main piece of the Vader head followed up by the back of the neck. This is honestly really simple to put on if you just do it the standard way. If you do it the movie accurate way, you can put the neck piece on and then slide the actual face over. I choose to do it the easier way. Okay, so that's the actual center head on, and then this neck piece just kind of snaps around the neck, and you kind of just have to fiddle with it until you find the proper spots to clip it in. And so next up is going to be the actual dome piece, which I have sitting right back here. So this just super simply sits over your head. You have to feel it around and wait for it to click in. So once it's clicked in, you're fully in here. There's not a whole lot of limited movement or anything. And then next up is the gloves and the actual glove covers. So there are a couple of different ways to put on the gloves. You can go under the suit or over the suit. I prefer to do over the suit. That way it's a little easier to pull them off. So these ones are one-sided. So they super simply slip over the wrist, and it's just 2 bands that your hand goes through, and then they slide on. So going ahead to go and put the other one on, again, super simple, same process. Alright, and so with that, the suit is fully on, except for the cape. Like I said, the cape is broke. I'm not going to put it on, which it's not the end of the world to not have the cape on with this. Turning on a lightsaber, you can see how it reflects really nicely off of all the pleather and the plastic up here. So, it is honestly well worth the time and money put into the suit, in my opinion. I believe that currently, after everything is said and done, including the lightsaber replacement hilt, suit, and the helmet as of right now, it is around $750 for my setup. That's including getting the chest and belt separate, which I did turn them off just to conserve battery because you weren't really seeing them much. It is a total payoff for all of this. It's a lot of fun to wear. Just takes a little bit of time, more than most cosplays do. And so with that, we're going to go on and show the pictures that I've taken in this suit.